What's the difference in osteoporosis and osteopenia? So osteopenia happens earlier, and then osteoporosis comes on later on. We start having more problems with our bones, but how do we diagnose it, and what are we looking at, and what do we do about it? That's what we're gonna dive into in this video. We wanna make sure that you understand how, if you've been diagnosed with osteopenia, how it won't turn into osteoporosis. Let's get into the video. The gold standard for testing for osteoporosis is bone mineral density, but they have these crazy measures. It's like a 0.62 something to a 1.8 of these measures. What we did was we broke it down, and you have -1, -1.5, -2, -2.5 measures on a DEXA scan. We put them right here, but then also we broke it down, those measurements, we broke them down into percentages so you can understand a little bit better. It's easier when you understand that healthy bone runs in this range right here. So it's above -1, but not quite to 0. So you can still be on the negative side when you do a DEXA scan, but it's not quite to a 0. And then everything above that is gonna be positive. Like you're gonna have healthy bone right there. Now, you might fall in one of these ranges right here, and it's telling you you're close to getting to osteopenia, but that is 55% right here. Once you get down by 55% and you're left with 45% of your bone mineral density, then you get diagnosed with osteopenia. So let's say you're right here, you're at like 35% bone mineral density. That means that you have osteopenia. So those bones they're spongy, they're flexible, but they're not breaking, they're not brittle. So, and that's what osteopenia is. It's like spongy, flexible bones, but not breakable. They're not going to break on you if you fall. It's not as bad. But we don't want to get to this range of osteoporosis. That's going to be a serious problem. And a lot of times it's women that are dealing with it. Men deal with it as well, but women deal with it after menopause. And it has to do with estrogen too. We're going to talk about that towards the end of the video. So osteoporosis, when you're osteoporosis, the point that you start getting diagnosed with osteoporosis is when you're down to 29% of your bone mineral density. And that's how it's diagnosed. So we're going to go through 3 research studies and tell you exactly what we learned about it and what we do with our clients and how we help them to not deal with these problems. Because a broken hip, if you break your hip, you are 3 times more likely to die in the next year. Around if you're after the age of 60, if you break your hip, you're 3 times more likely to die in the next year. That's a problem. And so when we're talking to our clients, we're trying to create stability, but we also want to increase their bone density because it's within our control. And so with the research studies, you're going to learn about what's within our control. And if you've read any research studies, then you'll see that they're kind of confusing because we have bone mineral density, but then we also have bone mineral content. So bone mineral density is the amount of bone tissue that we have, and then bone mineral content is a measurement of the minerals that are found in the actual bone itself. Now, there's a bunch of osteoclasts, and we can name them all out. It just gets confusing. What you need to know is that if we increase bone mineral content, it happens in the short term. We're boosting up that bone mineral content, and when we do that consistently over time, that will boost up the bone mineral density. So in the studies, what we found was there were smaller percentage changes over a shorter period of time. So smaller percentage changes in the bone mineral content. So our bone mineral content is what are the ingredients that are making the bone get better over time. And so we put more of those ingredients in when we do weight bearing exercises. All those ingredients are there, and then that will increase our bone mineral density when we do it consistently. And then our bone mineral density goes up because we increased our bone mineral content consistently. And I know that's a lot of stuff that I'm saying, and it gets a little bit confusing, but the bone mineral content needs to be increased on a daily basis to be able to get our bone mineral density up. Something to think about with the bones is that bones resorb. They break down and they build up, and it's consistent over time that they're breaking down and they're building back up. So they're resorbing all the time. Your bones are always changing. They're always resorbing. So our body is breaking down bone and it's building it back up. And so that's why when we define osteoporosis, it's when the body loses too much bone or it doesn't build it up enough. So we have a scale right there where in a normal body, our body is breaking down, getting rid of bone, and it's building it back up at the same rate. And so we have really good bone density. We have really strong bones. If it's losing too much and not building it up at the same rate, then we end up having problems with our bone, which could be osteopenia or osteoporosis. And so spongy then becomes very brittle. So I want to help you by making sense of the 3 research articles that will be cited down below. They're dense, but we broke them down. So, and that's where we got a lot of, we took a DEXA scan from one of our clients and we broke down these numbers. And then also these research studies, they have some DEXA numbers, but they're really diving into bone mineral density or bone mineral content. So in study number 1, they go into bone mineral density. In studies number 2 and 3, they go into bone mineral content. And so we know that we need to build up more bone mineral content. We need to spark bone mineral content to build up so that we can get better bone mineral density. And that's how they measure whether you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, which is really the strength of the bones. So what we want to do is, when we're talking about bone mineral density, is that we need to be doing weight-bearing exercises. In this study number 1, we were doing 60 minutes of exercise 3 times a week for 24 weeks. And then group 2, the control group, they did non-weight bearing. They were not doing weight bearing exercises. And so there was no change in the control group, and it actually decreased a little bit. But the weight bearing exercises, they got a change of 11.4%. And that's why when we're looking at the delta, we're looking at the change, it's important to look at it from the percentages and taking these numbers out, because it's really confusing when you use the numbers. It doesn't change percentages. When we look at the research study, it's talking to us all about percentages. So we're changing by 11%. If you get diagnosed with osteoporosis and you're at 29%, but then you do this weight-bearing exercise 60 minutes a day, 3 times a week for 24 weeks, right? Which is 6 months essentially. Then you're going to be building up your bone mineral density on average, right? So the study says on average they were getting 11.4% in the lumbar spine. So 11% from 29, we're going up to 40. So now you're getting real close to that osteopenia level. And that's what's really important, is that we're starting to build that back up. And you can do that. You have control in your body to be able to stress it so that your body can resorb those bones and grow. And there's some other factors we'll talk about at the end. But we want to make sure that you understand that, that when you get in there and you're doing these exercises, you're doing something positive for your body, but it takes a little bit of time. We got to be consistent with it, because we're boosting that bone mineral content, and then we're going to get better bone mineral density. And it's going to take time, but we're going to be able to have stronger bones that will prevent fractures in the future. Study number 2 is about bone mineral content. So they had an exercise group that was weight training for 15 minutes, and they did it 3 times a week. And so their bone mineral content increased by 3.8%. Now, in the control group, they just did aerobic exercise. So weight training is like external load, having weights that are pulling you down. So the enemy is gravity. We get up against gravity all the time. Gravity is what's beating us down. And now we add load to it, and that puts more stress on the bone. And it's Wolff's law that the more stress we put on the bone, the more the bone reacts to it. We still need the other components like calcium and estrogen and good diet. Like all those things coming in are really important for all the molecules to be able to get that bone mineral density up. But stressing the bone is what we have to do, and that's one of the things that we can control. So looking at the things with bone mineral density that you can control is most important. And all of it, there's supplementation that you can do, but all of it is within your control. And so you can control whether you're more likely to have a fracture or less likely. So in study number 2, the bone mineral content was increased by 3.8% because they were doing weight training. They were having external load on it. And then in the control group, it was decreased. It was only increased by half that with weight bearing with cardio. So cardio is good. It will help you because it's weight bearing against gravity. But when we do external load on it, we get more out of it. And so that's what we're going to take from that study. Now, the most positive thing that we saw is in study number 3, they were also measuring bone mineral content. And what they found was when we do bigger loads, maximum loads, that's where you get the most benefit out of it. So what we want to think about is when we're doing more weight, in a safe way. We're not trying to challenge ourselves where we go to our functional capacity, where we start breaking down form, then we're going to start causing injuries. But we want to increase our weight and increase the load over time. So what they did in this study was they had 2 warm-up sets from 8 to 12 reps at 50% of somebody's max amount, right? A max amount of weight. Let's say they were able to lift 100 pounds. Right? So their maximum amount was 100 pounds. So they were lifting 50 pounds for 8 to 12 reps. Those were their 2 warm-up sets. And then the next set, they went to 85 to 90. Yeah, it was 85 to 90%. 85 to 90%. So if 100 pounds was their maximum, then 85 pounds or 90 pounds, they were doing that for 4 sets, and they were doing sets from 3 to 5 reps. They did this study for 12 weeks. So over a 3-month period, they were measuring how the bone mineral content came up with doing maximum load, and it was much better than just doing weight bearing. So if you're at home and you're doing exercise, you're gonna have positive benefits from doing weight bearing exercises and strength training, which you can strength train against gravity. But when we do external load, when we put more load on it, we get more out of it, because that's Wolff's Law. The more stress we put on the bone, the more it can adapt. To a measure, we don't want to go too far, especially if you're down here. If you're in like the 15%, like you want to slowly, gradually increase that. But if you're in the osteopenia level, you want to go to that 85 to 90%. You want to start challenging yourself 3 to 5 reps, where you're really challenging yourself for 4 sets. That's where they got the maximum amount of bone mineral content that came up. And we know if we do that consistently throughout a week, and we do that over 12 weeks at a time, then we're going to get a change of 2.8 in the lumbar spine. So the lumbar spine is not taking on as much stress as the hip. And if we look at the body, we want to keep our Superman emblem and our belt buckle stacked. So we're driving through this area right here. I'm driving through this area. I'm not taking as much stress when I squat down on my lumbar spine as I am on my hips, because my hip comes up and grinds into the pelvis right there. So there's a lot of stress on the neck of that femur, and that's where a lot of people have fractures. So when we're looking at this, we want to think about where are the areas that we need the most intense bone. We need the strongest bone, and it's going to be at that femur. We want it really strong bones at the femur, and we want it at the lumbar spine. So in this study, what we were looking at was that the lumbar spine increased by 2.8%, but then the femoral neck, so that neck coming up right here, that's where a lot of people have fractures in their hip. That was 5.8%. So the most bone mineral content, when we compare the 2 studies, we got 3.8% here when we're doing weight training, but when we do maximal load, when we're doing heavy weights at 3 to 5 reps, we're getting 5.6%. So we got more bone mineral content. And so we can correlate that and say, if I get more bone mineral content in a short period of time, consistently on a weekly basis, then I'm going to get better bone mineral density over time. And that's how you're going to be able to control what's happening with your bones and how you can put more stress on them. Now there's other factors involved as well, and we'll flip this around. So the other factors, so we can control exercise, and that's what the research studies are looking at. But the other factors is smoking. If you smoke, then it's not good for your bones, right? So we know that we shouldn't be smoking, but it's not like nobody's going to hate on you if you smoke. But that's one of the things that's going to limit it. And then also alcohol consumption. Too much alcohol. We all know that alcohol and smoking is bad for us, but nobody's perfect. So those things they're variables that we need to think about. So if we want to cover all our bases, we want to give our body the best ability to build up that bone over time and make it stronger, then we want to cut our smoking, at least limit it, limit our alcohol consumption, and then we have supplements, right? Supplementing estrogen is really beneficial. We found that in another study. We're not going to cite that in here, but it was saying that estrogen is really important, right? So, and we know that's true because a lot of women deal with osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is something that's primarily women. Men deal with it too, but the women need estrogen in their body to be able to resorb those bones. So we can supplement estrogen, we can supplement calcium, we can supplement vitamin D, or you can go outside for 15 minutes and get the vitamin D. You got to get sunlight for 15 minutes to maximize the amount of vitamin D you're getting on a daily basis. All of those components, vitamin D, calcium, and estrogen, are going to be in there. And then having a healthy diet in general, that kind of covers our bases. You can throw smoking and alcohol into having a healthy diet. If we're smoking and drinking alcohol, our diet is less healthy. So the things that we ingest. So these are things, other factors that we want to take into account and other variables that we want to have. And then the things that we can control our diet, we can control the supplements, and we can control the amount that we exercise. And with exercise, what we want to be doing is that we want to be loading the body, putting stress on the bones, getting to the maximum, 85 to 90% of your maximum 1 rep max, and doing it for 3 to 5 reps. We want to do that for 4 sets, but we always want to warm up before that. And that's where people got the most bone mineral content, and then they'll get bone mineral density will build up over time, and that's how you can take control of your osteoporosis. If you found this video helpful, like it or share it. If you want more information on what we do in the clinic, how we help our clients, check out our other video on the best 6 exercises for osteoporosis, how we can load the bones, and how you can start taking control of your life and your bone health now.